TrekWars, Duels Across the Stars. Episode 12, Book of Lower Decks.
It is a period of civil war in the galaxy. A brave alliance of side characters have challenged the tyranny and oppression of the main characters, who always go on their way missions. Little do the main characters know that the Galactic Empire has secretly begun construction of a new armoured space station, even more powerful than the first dreaded Death Star, to house all the extras and ignored side characters. General Ben Kerno has sent his most daring pilot, Olympus, on a secret mission to Vulcan, where an old ally has discovered a clue to the top 5 best side characters in Star Trek and Star Wars.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Duels Across the Stars. This is episode 12, Top 5 Side Characters, Book of Lower Decks. I am Olympus, and this
is Ben Kerno. I am the beloved co-host. Maybe. Possibly.
100%. No, you are definitely beloved. Couldn't do this without you.
Thank you.
This was your brainchild.
So, today we are ranking our top 5 side characters, as we've probably said about 5 times already, or maybe 3 times, I'm not sure.
Just because we are so excited to do it. I've been really looking forward to this.
Same here. Do we know each other's picks?
We absolutely do not. No, so we make sure not to discuss anything about our picks, our rules, how we're choosing them, and we never give any hints either, so that as we are rolling with this recording, we have absolutely no idea what the person's going to pick, and that just, to me, it just helps bring a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? It makes it more, I guess, enjoyable and surprising for us as we go through it. But what it means for you guys is that every single reaction we have is genuine, and the feedback that we're giving, the thoughts that we're sharing on our fellow co-host picks are in the moment, not prepared, just purely off the top of our heads.
Yeah, and if you lovely people out there have your own opinions on your top 5, please put them in the comments, the chats. I'm not sure if there is one on our podcast, but there is definitely ones on our YouTube and definitely on our Twitters when we put this out, which we will mention at the end. I do put timestamps in the comments, so you can skip straight to that if you want to know where that is on YouTube. So.
Absolutely, and also, guys, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button on both YouTube and on Spotify as well. It really does mean a lot, that support for us, so thank you very much in advance for that too.
I definitely agree. And unless we've got anything else, we'll get to our first stage, which is going to be setting our rules on what we call side characters, and maybe what we call main characters. Don't know. Yeah, so Olympus, what are your rules and stipulations, rules or positions?
Yeah, I've got 3 key rules / stipulations / guidelines, if you want to call it a little bit of Captain Jack Sparrow. Number 1, the relevant side characters cannot have appeared in the credit sequence of the main title, if that makes sense. So they do not appear in the main title sequence if they are in a TV show, because obviously movies don't have title sequences really compared to what the TV shows do. Number 2, they must have appeared in more than one episode or movie. And number 3, I cannot include characters who are solely from games. So if there are characters who are in games who are also in the movies or TV shows, absolutely. If they're only in video games, desktop games, etc., then no, I can't include them. So that sort of summarizes mine. How about yours, Ben?
I had roughly the same there. If they were in the title sequence of the main title sequence of TVs, like when you had TNG or Voyager for Star Trek, the ship moving across and all the stars and stuff. If they're in there, I had the character. They were there. I made one exception with one of the doctors in TNG, even though she wasn't counted as a main character, and in the title sequence she was a main character. Um, Also, yeah, similar for films. It's usually like A New Hope. You had uh, Leia, or Mark Hamill, Prince. Do you know? I can't not get Leia's person's name in here
Harry
properly,
Fisher.
but Carrie Fisher, sorry, and Harrison Ford. They mentioned there as well as uh, Obi-Wan's character and Tarquin's character. But for me, I decided the main villains of each TV show or film I wouldn't count, because for me those are a main character. They are the main villains. They're the antagonists to the main characters, but for me they are the main characters. Now, I also decided not to pick from games. I also, what was your second pick? Because I've suddenly forgot that now.
They
So,
must have appeared in more than one episode of movie.
yeah, I've decided to have that, or I've used that to get rid of one of my characters off this, uh, off my shortlist. Uh,
So did you have like how did you find, if you don't mind me interrupting for a second, the process of picking these characters? Because I found very quickly I had too many, and I did have to try and introduce some rules just to cut them out.
yeah, so with those ones I did, and I nearly made a new rule about 10 minutes before I did. I've even rubbed it out and re-put it in there because I've decided they are main characters. Yeah, that the process. Yeah, I found. Yeah, I had to introduce the one about one to get rid of one of my characters, and the other one actually, my other rule to get rid of them, did this side character turn into a de facto main character, even though they
Ooh.
weren't a main. So even though they weren't a main character, they were probably almost at one point treated like a main character. And probably when we get into the honourable mentions, I will mention who that is when I either coming up. And the last one, if this person has actually been a main character in another program or another film, eventually, I've decided to exclude them. So again, honourable mentions. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That last one's a good point. Without me stating it, that is one of my other rules as well. If they are a side character in one show or movie, but a main character in another show or movie, I haven't included them.
yeah, and I know there's definitely two characters that I would have considered for that, and yeah.
And I have one. Yeah. Earlier on, I mentioned to you very briefly that I had to change my top five without giving you any details. I had to change that top five because my wonderful wife spotted when I was talking through these picks with her that one of the characters was actually a main character in another TV show, and I just went, "Oh no!" So I had to completely resort it with like what, an hour to go before before the recording.
I'll talk about this
Um,
at the end before we go on to our honourable mentions at the beginning.
yeah,
I
that
think I know
character
who it
is
is.
in. Yeah, that character is in my honorable mention, so we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah. Shall we get onto our list before we ramble on?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? The last couple of episodes, I think you've given me the final pick. So this time, if you're comfortable, we'll give you the final pick.
Oh, okay then. Okay. Yeah.
Which means
As you
we,
insist.
yeah, which means we kick off with my number five. I'm just gonna give you the name right away, Wayun. Um,
Oh, lovely pick.
Thank you. You know, there are so many iterations of Wayun as well. I actually don't know just how many there ended up being in the end. You might have a better idea than me because you know DS9 so well, especially compared to what I do.
Five. So yeah, I think you had five. You had the first one in that solo episode where he got shot by the Jem'Hadar. Then
Yep.
he came back. Then there was one which was defective. So that was a
Mm.
third. So he must have been a replacement for that previous one. Then you had the one who was chasing him down, so the replacement for the defective one. Then you had one that was killed by Demar, uh, which was 5, and I think you had one other after that, the replacement for that, which was shot by Garrick.
Oh
So I'm going to
yes,
say at least 6.
at least 6 that we see. How many
Yeah,
iterations of Wii were they before that as
I believe
well?
there was more because they do number them, and I
Hmm.
forgot what numbers they are.
I've forgotten to. I'm gonna have to Google that. I'll add it into the comments or into the editing afterwards. Um, so yeah, again, acted by the wonderful Jeffrey Combs, who has played so many side characters across the Star Trek universe. Um, and probably one of my favorite characters that Jeffrey Combs created. I say created, played. I mean, I love Wayun's presence. I love the slight creepiness to him. Um, and I also like how that can change very quickly, becomes a bit squirrely and a bit um, cowardly in the tense situations that he comes across, in particular when the Cardassians start fighting back and pushing back at points. But obviously, he's completely submissive when it comes to the prophets, just purely based off of what he's there for, what he does.
The
Um,
changelings, yeah.
yeah, the changelings, not the prophets. Oh, I'm making a great start to this tonight, aren't I?
It's usually making those mistakes, silly mistakes like that.
Thought we'd
We
switch
all
it.
know. Yeah,
No, so Wei Yun, as I said, I just overall loved the presence that he brought to the show. He was extremely memorable, bearing in mind that I've only watched DS9 1.5 times. Not because I don't enjoy it, just because it took me a very long time until I got to the point of watching DS9 the first time around. It was very recent when I did. And he's extremely memorable to me through the watch through. So yes, he is my number 5.
now I do love Wayoon. He is the very incarnations of Wayoon are brilliant, and I've decided not to pick him because it was just like because for me he was a main villain. He was
Ah,
one of usually if they're a subordinate villain, I don't. But he was seen more than the female changeling, and to be honest, he was on par with Ducat uh, in the show, in my opinion,
that's a
when
fair
they
point.
came on.
Yeah. That's a fair
So
point. I'll give you that. He fits within my criteria, but that is a very good point. Um, because in my head, I always saw the changelings as the villains behind him. He
yeah,
was just carrying out their orders, but screen time wise, you do see a lot more of them.
yeah, and yeah, to be honest, yeah, and then compared to the main cast, there he doesn't get as many appearances in the show as he would a main character. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many episodes there, but I'm sure he might just get into double figures.
I
But
think, and I might be wrong here, so if I am, people watching, please comment in the comments. But I think he is his character in these iterations are the most appearances in a single Star Trek show Jeffrey Combs has. So he was the closest Jeffrey Combs got to being like a main character in one of the shows, but
yeah,
as in credited main character in the start of the sequence.
yeah, and I am starting to wonder if you got a top 5 of Jeffrey Combs' character, whether you got Shran, Brunt, um, and any of the other
Yeah, Shran, Brunt,
incarnations.
Wayun, the droid in Lower Decks, the computer.
Oh
He plays
yes,
that. I'm sure he plays a couple of other random appearances of
yeah,
different aliens.
this
Um,
one in Voyager, I think he was in the one was Benny, not Benny Hill, Benny, um,
do 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 do
Benny,
do do do
yeah.
do do do.
And I'm talking about a serious episode, and it's like I'm coming up with this joke comedian show person. But yeah, this character played Benny Russell by
Hmm.
uh, Ben Sisko's actor's name, and I'm having a mind blank on the actors now that plays Ben Sisko. But
Oh,
yeah,
I'm staring at him. He's on my plate
yeah,
right there.
do an edit here, put in the name when you get the name right. No, joking aside.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
Yeah, but yeah, um, but yeah, I am interested if you're going to do a top five of for him.
I think we should, I think we really should just, even if it's just a sort of short, fun thing, that'd be good.
Oh yeah, good. So look out for my shorts on the thing. You never know, I might do a short on top five Jeffrey Combs characters.
We've heard it
So
here, you're doing it now.
okay, so on that note, number five, I'm going to stick with Star Trek. And this one, I have been struggling between this and three characters to pick. And I'm going to go to Ro Laren, Brenton Rowe from Star Trek TNG. Who was, they thought about putting her in DS9, but she is a Bajoran, brought in, had problem with Starfleet and issues, and she is a bit of a rebellious character to start with, who started to fit in after not fitting in. She is a great character. I'm just trying to think of a better way of putting it other than she's great. But yeah, she added a bit of conflict to TNG, and it was a way of bringing in the Bajorans and the Bajoran problem. When I say Bajoran problems, the Bajorans' problems of being occupied by the Cardassians. It was well played. She was another way, as I said, bringing in Bajoran culture. Well played. And her scenes, which I've mentioned before on the previous one, the top five scenes in her bar, a conversation with Guinan of, she said, "I'm not here to stay. I'm not here to make friends. Sorry, too late. You already have." Was great. And
Guinan picks her friends very carefully.
carefully, yeah. But I just love the character as a an officer there. She wasn't in many episodes. I think she was in less than 10. And her return in Picard actually got my emotions going when she. Okay, if you haven't watched it, skip to the next bit, fast forward 10 seconds. But when she passed away, this is the reason she got here. It had that emotional reaction with me when she gave up her life for everybody else, for her friends.
I have a little bit of trivia, if you want to know the trivia.
Oh, go on.
Ro survived.
Ooh.
There's either a scene or it was cut. I can't remember which one it is. Or like there was a plan for the scene. So there was either a plan for it or they created it and it was cut. Where after everything resolves in Picard, they head down to Earth and whoever they is, and they find Tuvok obviously detained in a cell somewhere. In the cell next to him, Ro Laren.
Ooh.
So yeah, that was planned. They didn't put it in because they ran out of money. In the end, they wanted to do so much with the end of season 3 that they didn't do because they ran out of money. But that's one of them. So in my head, Ro survived.
Yeah.
Off of that bit of trivia.
To be honest, I would like her to have survived and be like a Sith, or where you see them return after you think they've died. I can think of one in the films and one in the Star Wars: The Old Republic that's done that.
Oh yeah. Takes me to Doctor Who as well. How many times does the Master come back after he or she has been conked? Mate, what a pick with Ro Laren. I'm going to stop here for a second before I go on about Ro, because she's my number 4. Yes, we've done it again. Yet again. Another consistent episode where we pick either a similar or same pick. I love this. I absolutely love it. We're so aligned. And it's
I
never
didn't
many.
think that character. I didn't think that character would be the one.
Did you not? No, I had a
No.
funny feeling she might be. Obviously, when we did those episodes around, what do you call it?
Scenes in a bar or restaurant.
It was, I'm sure it was scenes in a bar and restaurant, and we shared our love for Rolar, and then I thought,
Yeah.
yeah, she's definitely a side character. I thought she'd make an appearance on both of ours. I did predict this. Ro, you said it perfectly. She adds an element of conflict into the next generation at a point where it probably started to need it, so it spiced that up. You see Picard faced with a situation that you've never really seen him faced with before on the ship in these episodes, which is what to do in a scenario where he's being forced an officer on him, which normally doesn't happen for a captain. At least that's what we're led to believe. And not only that, but an officer that no one wants because of her past. She is very, very abrupt. She is borderline rude when you first come across her, just because of where she's come from, what she's been through. And to see that, again, I've said it before, one of the very key things that I love about certain characters is how they develop. If they've got good character development that works very well across the series, I fall in love with them so much. And I love the relationship between her and Picard and how that grows into a sort of mentor-mentee closeness, which makes her betrayal, spoiler alert again, guys, at the end towards the end of TNG, so much harder to bear. But I also agree with you about the fact that it brings to life the Cardassian front, and really opens the way for all the stories that are threaded and woven and delivered to us in DS9, in my opinion. I don't think that would have had the kickoff and success that it initially, well, maybe not initially did. I know DS9 had a bit of a troubled start, but definitely the love that it has now, if it wasn't for them exploring those things the way they did with Ro in TNG.
Yeah. They DS9 did a brilliant job with the Bajorans and
I really did.
Cardassians, in my opinion, and yeah, that was definitely helped with Ro and the Cardassians that appeared in the episode of TNG. It, it was the brilliant portrayal for them and a brilliant setup for Kira Nerys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you think of Ro's return on Picard? I know you've referenced it a little bit, saying how exciting it was seeing her come back in. How do you feel that her character was portrayed so many years later versus when we saw her in TNG? Do you think that was delivered very well?
It did seem to, it didn't seem to be delivered well. Okay, I was surprised that she was that high up again in the next generation, and yeah, she was presumed dead when the Marquis were wiped out. We found out they were wiped out in Voyager. So it was lovely to see her back, and yeah, again, I slightly surprised that she managed to make her way back up into the confines of Starfleet.
Yeah, she was a commander, wasn't she, in Picard
Yeah,
season 3?
yeah. So okay, that's only going up. I don't know if she was a lieutenant junior grade, but I presume she was rather than a full-on lieutenant. But let's presume junior grade, lieutenant commander, and commander. So she's gone up what 3 positions?
Yeah.
And what's that? 20 to 30 years. I think it was 71 that the Enterprise crashed, and then it was like the episode was like in 99 So yeah, I'm gonna say that 30 years. So yeah, it is possible that she made her way back and built up the rank and took a while to get there.
Yeah. When you
So
think of it that way, it certainly is possible, isn't it?
yeah,
I think again, I was a little bit like Commander, really, after her background. But yeah, when you think about the timeline, you're right. Um, and personally, I think the way they played her initial reintroduction and the initial emotion between her and Picard was flawless. I thought that they did that so well.
yeah, and actually the thing that I noticed that they did was mentioned. I can't remember if it was by Picard or Riker in Picard, the show. Um, was I went, hang on, where's their earring?
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, they actually made a point of saying that in the thing, and it was just like, yeah, they showed the earring, and it was just like, brilliant, thank you.
It was
So
good, wasn't it? That was I
yeah,
did like that. I did like that added little extra.
yeah, and it's like it wasn't them going, I forgot to do it, and it's them making a good point
Conscious
of
a conscious decision.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, is it her going, I'm going to try to be more Starfleet, or is it and get my past? But no, she didn't. So
Yeah, she kept true to herself, and again, very Rose. So they got that character element nailed down.
yeah, so yeah, that's your number four
That
pick.
was
I
my
was about
number
to say
four
that's
pick.
my yeah. I was nearly going to say that was my number four pick, but no, it's not. That was my number five pick. Your number four. So I suppose I should actually go and do my number four pick
Yes,
before I end
back
up
to
picking
you
Rose.
now.
Um, so this is a character that I debated whether was a main character or not.
Okay.
And in the film A New Hope, this character was mentioned um, eventually, the actor at least anyway, but it wasn't named, and that's C3PO from Star Wars. He is practically in every film. I don't know how many of the TV series he's appeared in, but
Most.
it's quite a few, including Ahsoka. I think Clone Wars possibly, and probably possibly Rebels as well. I can't remember. I know because I've seen one of them in one of the cartoons. But is not a main character and almost gets ignored sometimes in some of the TV series, in some of the films. Sorry, um, and he is basically the messenger. He's the person who brings the story, who joins things up uh, with his, I presume, friend or frenemy, R2. Um, I don't think the Star Wars films would be as good without him. Um, he is the one who saved R2D2 from. I wouldn't say saved them, but he saved them from the Jawas. He got him a new home and managed to get them together. Uh, um, he almost comes off as annoying sometimes, I know, but to be honest, he still is cool.
It's annoying
He
in a
is,
funny way, isn't it?
yeah, he's that sensible friend who's you couldn't do without him, but you want to tell him to shut up
Yeah,
occasionally.
and I bet many of those beeps that R2 makes is probably him telling C3PO to shut up.
Yeah, very true. Um, yeah, he couldn't do. I don't think we could. Yeah, again, he couldn't. We couldn't do the shows without him, and unfortunately, I don't think he probably fits the main character role um, in this. So the people that got mentioned first, as I said, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Leia, uh, Tar- Tarkin, Tarquin. I can't even say
Arkin.
his. Yeah, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Not even Darth Vader was mentioned, but he is definitely, in my opinion, the main character.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, But yes, Anthony. Is it Anthony Daniels? Who plays him.
it
He
is.
was. Uh, he was mentioned in the fourth bit out of the actors with in amongst a lot of about 5, 6 other people. So yeah, that's my number 4 pick, C3PO.
Lovely, lovely pick. I did consider both 3PO and R2 because they're in so many movies and shows and they're so iconic. I decided to view them as main characters opposed to how you've done it. And that just goes to show you how the different ways we've interpreted our rules and how we perceive the characters has resulted in us looking at them in different ways. I I think they're both staple favourites throughout all the shows. I was so happy when I saw 3PO appear in Ahsoka. They did it so beautifully. And I think he adds, yes, an element of sensibleness to the situation, but also like many comedy gold elements that he introduces into the various movies and shows as well. Um, the in every movie he's in. Episode 2, there's a couple in the droid factory on Geonosis, which are classic for me. I absolutely love it, and I kind of almost wish with the likes of Phantom Menace, for example, where they maybe probably overdid it with Jar Jar Binks, which is a shame because I think Jar Jar in that movie could have been a much better portrayed character. It's nothing to do with the actor; it was to do with how it was all directed, in my opinion. But if they'd scaled back a little bit on the silliness of Jar Jar and put in a bit more of that comedy gold from Daniels and 3PO, it probably would have worked out a lot better. So basically what I'm saying is I think they overdid it on the Phantom Menace by not utilizing something that had already worked so well in episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, and when you were going through that, I think C3PO is like a Vulcan in Star Trek. They're
Yes.
sensible ones, but are actually very good for unknown jokes. It's
Data's another one. Yeah, he's a data as well,
yeah,
isn't he?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, so yeah, and I'm still upset that I didn't get him put him in my droid slash AI ones, but luckily I think Arwen did pick C3PO, so I'm glad about that.
Yeah,
Uh, so anyway, yeah, that's my number 4 pick, C3PO.
fantastic. Thank you, mate. On to number 3. So I have brought up this character at least once, maybe twice before, on previous episodes. Um, I have already mentioned the actor in the last couple of picks we've been talking about as well. This is Thylac Shran from Enterprise. Another Jeffrey Combs favorite. This is my favorite character that Jeffrey Combs portrayed. I love Shran. I love how he portrays the Andorians and really brings that species to life in a way that we have never seen before in any previous series. I like his honor. I like his commitment, his valor, and his open-mindedness as well, where a lot of Andorians are very close-minded, both to the Vulcans, which he is very close-minded for a long time to the Vulcans, but also to the Pinkskins, the humans. He sees the honor in Archer and the actions Archer carries out, and that's what very much helps form, in my opinion, the alliance between humans and Andorians, and eventually the alliance that leads to the United Federation of Planets between the humans, Andorians, Vulcans, and Tellarites. I think that all kicks off on that lovely little monastery on Bajem, when Shran and Archer first meet, and all of that commotion with that secret listening base of the Vulcans comes to light, and Archer's decision through that. So yeah, so many different episodes he appears in, so many different altercations. You've got friendships forming, you've got the exploration of the politics between Andorra and Vulcan blowing up. Episode I'm thinking of there in particular is it a moon or a planet that they've been fighting over for a very, very long time? I think it's over 100 years. Um, and the Vulcans and Andorrans are literally at war with each other on this planet, and Shran again calls Archer in to mediate, which neither his comrades or the Vulcans really appreciate, but was absolutely the right call. I could keep going on, but I'm gonna slow myself down now. He's as one of my favourite characters in Star Trek. Definitely my favourite character that Jeffrey Combs has portrayed, and my favourite Andorian without a doubt.
Oh, I love the character. I don't know why I didn't pick this, but there was just something that just didn't fit with my other characters there. It's just like, nah.
He's
It is
almost
great.
sorry, he's almost a main character. Again, a bit like Wayun,
Yeah,
he's almost a main character, but just didn't
yeah,
quite meet that main character definition for me.
yeah. And yeah, that first meeting of him on Pajem in the monastery there was really good. And I actually, when I played Star Trek Online, I think that's the opening mission for the main TNG era story for the Federation. And it's like, I went to Pajem, brilliant. And it's just like, yay.
Awesome, isn't it?
That's
Throwback straight
and
to that.
yeah, and that and that's some reason to do with him on that one is that episode is so good. Um, with him, Archer, also to Paul uh, there as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was really enjoyable, and it's like yeah, memorable that one. Uh, Love it. I'm glad you picked that. And I'm gonna guess there's no more Jeffrey Combs picks for the top two.
You'll need to wait and see.
Yep. Find out. So I'm looking forward to hopefully somebody doing their top five. Not Shran episode. Jeffrey Combs in the comments. So please do.
Yes, please do, even if it's us
Yeah.
as well. I
Um,
think we have to comment something on that. He's done so many characters, and he
yeah.
does them so well.
I don't have much else to add to that. So
Shall we come on to your number 3 then?
number three. And I've gone with the other part of the twosome. I've gone with R2D2.
Lovely.
Okay, I wish I could see he was the best droid in the franchise, but I've already picked that, so I can't really go back on that. But it's one of the ones that I was let down for that I did not pick R2D2 in our top five droid slash AI episode. Well, I say he, but don't really. It's probably because there was a he inside the droid.
Exactly.
But um, he is an essential, another essential character there, and almost even more essential than C3PO. He he was the one who passed the message to Leia. He was not to Leia, from Leia to Ben Kenobi. He was even though he was beeping, he was a very jokey character. Made a lot of good jokes, and that's mainly with his back and forth with C3PO. Always being the more action orientated after the two of the characters, R2 and C3PO. I could not pick this character. I just love him. I love him to bits. I would love to give him a big hug as well. It's just like that's my number 3 pick. So, do you have any comments to add to that?
Beautiful pick. Only droid, only character to go through episodes 1 through 9 and have a memory of all of it.
Good point. Yes.
He knows the lot. He never has a memory wipe, not once. So he knows all of that, which makes you wonder. There are a couple of bits in different movies where you're kind of sitting there with the complete picture of the movies now, kind of going, hang on a minute, why are you staying so quiet? You could just tell them this and it would all make sense. But then it wouldn't be such a good movie, would it? So there is
Yeah,
always that type of creative element to it. I think he is a very fun character. He's eccentric, probably in part because he never has those memory wipes. So you see that little bit of eccentricity in him, especially more so in the interactions between him and C3PO, which are, again, to use the phrase, just absolute classic moments, comedy gold for me. There are some brilliant points as well. I've been watching a couple of reels lately, or shorts on YouTube, Facebook, whatever, where people have dubbed over R2's beeps in conversations between R2 and another character. So you know how in the movie, say Luke is talking to him, or Anakin's talking to him, Obi-Wan's talking to him, and all you hear is beeps off of R2 and then they're answering it, so you can kind of make out what the conversation is, which is a type of the movie sort of creative process I've really loved. But with them doing that, people have been dubbing it over with some pretty funny stuff just to sort of add to the eccentricity of R2. No, I think he's a brilliant choice. He's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. How could he not be? And yeah, just a classic that could never be replaced. So
yeah,
thank you for picking him.
and one thing I want to bring up is when you said talking to somebody, I made me think of when he was talking to Luke in The Last Jedi, when Luke comes onto the Millennium Falcon, and then
Mhm.
R2 stops, and then they suddenly show the Princess Leia, Obi-Wan, Ninja thing, and Luke went, "That's a cheap chick."
Yeah, I
And
absolutely love that scene. I'm so glad you brought that up. That was brilliant. And it's just
yeah,
reminded me, I'm sorry to move away from R2 for a second, but it's just reminded me of a scene in the same movie where he sees 3PO, when Luke sees 3PO, and I don't think he says anything to him, but he does this. He gives him a smile and a wink, and you just know. I think that was absolutely beautiful.
yeah, yeah, that was lovely, and it's beautiful. Uh,
So sorry, I know that
and
digressed off of R2, but it just
yeah,
reminded me.
and I actually love The Last Jedi. Certain scenes in that, it, I can see why it was slightly controversial with some people, but I don't think it deserved the amount of hate that it was, and I enjoyed it.
I don't think any of the sequel movies deserve the hate they got. I really don't.
Yeah,
Um, they're obviously different to Legends, which is where a lot of your Legends fans get a little bit uppity about it. But you know what? They were, in my opinion, made well. Stories mostly pulled together well. It's a bit difficult when you've got different directors jumping in and out of things that to keep continuity. I can see what they did and why. I might not agree with what they did with certain things and why. So, for example, how they portrayed Luke in The Last Jedi. For a lot of it, I maybe wasn't the best fan of where they went with that, but I still appreciated it for what it was. I accepted it for that's where they've taken this character. And you know what? In the grand scheme of things, that works. And it works very well in terms of what they've done with that story across those three movies. So, yeah, I was a fan of it. But when you sort of look at that as an entirety, um, and yeah, people are always going to turn around. And guys, anyone watching, if you've got strong thoughts on this, please add them to the comments. We'd love to talk to you about it. But I know there's a
but
lot
keep
of
it friendly, not
yeah, keep it
political.
friendly, keep it friendly. Constructive, constructive chats are always good. Let's not get any hate going on. But what people are always good for that. Somehow Palpatine has returned. Yeah, somehow Palpatine returned. Fine, it's a one-off line, but you know what? Sometimes that's all you need in a movie. Like, we know how Palpatine returned because there's previous scenes that actually show us without telling us what happened. So I don't like that argument very much. And I know we've digressed, but I just want to take the opportunity, like you did, to say, you know what? No, stake in the ground here. The sequel trilogy is not as bad, in my opinion, as a lot of other people say it is.
No, agreed. Agreed. Um,
Sorry
so
if
we
I
go.
upset anyone
That's-
in the course of the last 3 minutes.
yeah. So, um, which Jeffrey Combs character are you going to put into the number 2 slot then?
Drum roll. None of them. Um, you will have noticed my last 3 picks have all been Star Trek. I have a lot of honourable mentions to go through later. They do split between Trek and Wars. This pick, I've been able to cross out of Star Trek into the Star Wars universe. This is a character that was first introduced, I believe, in the Clone Wars. I believe you see this character again in Rebels. You see this character initially and then more and more in The Mandalorian. She is one of my favourite characters in Star Wars. You know who I'm talking about now. She's
Or you
one
written
of
it in my number 2 slot?
No, really. Oh. She is one of my favourite characters in Star Wars. She is played by an actress who is utterly phenomenal. I absolutely love her. She is known. What's this?
I don't
What's
know if
this?
you can
Let's see.
read
Let's
that.
see. Yes, I can just read that. Oh, brilliant! We're gonna have such a good conversation about this. This actress has played so many good characters in so many different shows. Best known, I think, in for playing Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica. So of course I'm talking about the incredible Bo-Katan Kryze. I can't believe we've done it
I've got
again.
to make that so the microphone can actually hear me clap.
Oh, I can't believe we've done this again. This is the first time we've done 2 in 1 episode. First time we've done 2 in 1 episode. This is good. This is going to be great. So, Bo-Katan Kryze.
That's not my pick that I showed you. That was your pick. I wrote in there.
Oh, right. So you knew that so you've predicted what I was going to pick, and you had that down as number 2.
Yeah, I've already written it number 2.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
but
You know me so
it,
well. Yes, it's Bo-Katan Kryze. She's cool. She's a very strong character. She has a plan. She has a mission. Her armor is amazing. The character development throughout the different series is brilliant. Her interactions from a Mandalorian perspective with both the Mandalorian himself, also with Sabine Wren. Yeah, so Bo-Katan's relationship as well with Sabine Wren and the interactions they have to love those. She's just a fiery, strong, independent character with loads of emotion and character behind her. I don't know how else to say this apart from I just bloody love her.
uh,
And there's
and
probably there's probably a 2% joke to go in there somewhere too.
she is one of my favourite characters as well, and I almost got into the number 5 spot. And actually, because between her and another character and Ro, I was doing that, and then I nearly took out R2 and C3PO and redone the list. Yeah, I was thinking I'm gonna have R2 and C3PO as main characters. It means I can fit her in, and up until this was like 2 minutes before the thing, I rubbed them all out, and it was just like she was off my list. Yeah, I love her armor. I love the character in Mandalorian. Uh, her she is. I prefer her to that rather than to the Mandalorian himself, to Jin. Um,
Funny,
her
me too.
attitude towards yeah
Sorry to interrupt you.
towards no, that's fine. Go ahead. And her relationship with when we first meet her in there by herself with him and then the other Mandalorians, and then it I get to love her as a character. It's just like that's the type of person, the character that I would love to follow and watch about.
Again, for me as well, character development is always a key part whenever I'm looking at something from these franchises that I enjoy from a character perspective. Is the character development, and I think they hit the nail on the head with Bo-Katan Kryze throughout the different iterations of when we see her. And then if I think to the recent Mandalorian series, seeing her starting to believe in some of the mythology and this, and the, I call it mythology, the religion, I should actually say the religion of these more devout inverted commas Mandalorians, um, is both interesting and believable, especially when she sees a mythosaur with her own eyes, and it takes all the doubts that she was growing over those episodes, and just quashes all of them. The moment she sees that mythosaur, she knows that there's at least something true behind everything that these other Mandalorians are believing in and following, and she knows
Yeah,
there's something to follow with that.
yeah, and yeah, that scene on Mandalore. Yeah, that I think that definitely converted me on that. I thought she was going to go full keep the helmet on, but that conversation between all of them, the groups, was I like that. It was just like we accept you, she accepts them. Um, yeah, yeah, it's almost a yeah, it is as you said a religious story, and it's almost inferring between you could almost put that against the certain sects of Christianity,
Yeah.
uh, combining to get or Judaism, uh,
You
where they
could.
like split that off, and then it's a combination and trying to get two of that together. And it's one of the reasons why I'm a Star Trek fan as well. Um, is because I like that trying to work them all together and have that story about the differences as well between that group and that group. It doesn't always work out, but sometimes they do, and we probably will have more story on that later, I'm sure, in the Star Wars franchise. But yeah, I like stories like that where it's just like going into different, not necessarily political, but semi-political, semi the depths and how things work
Mm-hmm.
uh, in society and the information about society. Like again, like Rolaren, it was interesting take on the politics of thing and the war
Yeah.
of things, and such like a life was that people was those people's. Yeah, no, I love that pick, and I really want to. Yeah, the thing is, I would have probably had to swap it for Row, and I don't want to do that.
I was going to say, yeah, that makes it tough, isn't it? And I've had those kinds of thoughts and decisions to have made as I was creating this list, so many times. It was so
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah. So would I either had to take out Rolaren for me or R2D2 and C3APO, and I could not have one of those two. I had to
No.
have both of them.
Yeah, totally understandable as well. I'd have been the same if I had them on my list.
Yeah,
You can't split them up.
yeah.
No chance.
Anyway, yeah, it is, and I love that pick. Uh,
Thank you. So, good point probably to move on to your number two.
yeah. So my number two is my favourite Star Trek character.
Ooh.
It it is Garrick from Deep Space Nine. He oh Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Mm-hmm.
He is when you first see him come up to Dr. Bashir in the Recromat on Deep Space Nine and having that conversation, uh, making Dr. Bashir very suspicious at all. He hit that mark with his character is intriguing, interesting, and he slowly over the years, the seasons, gave over more information about his life. Um, it was acted very well. Um, maybe apart from one episode, and even then, he Andrew Robinson played that character perfectly. Um, he uh, is intrigue was a spy. Him being away from his home Cardassia, him being that being a bad, a horrible, nasty person, as in what he did to Odo and what he did in the past to people. He was an interrogator, not just asking questions. He was a nasty piece of work. It was inferred, but he was actually also one of the good guys uh, when it came to the series. Um,
Very complicated
um,
character, which is
Character,
what I liked about him.
yeah,
Because being complicated is very real. You know, we're not all black and white. It's not simple ABCs. Every single individual person, whoever we are, we have a past, we have baggage, we have good and dark in this, which I think is also a good interpretation of battling, I guess, over his lifetime with the light and the dark inside him.
yeah, and maybe actually he was doing the right thing for Cardassian society.
Mm.
Uh, maybe, um,
You won't commit
but
to that comment.
yeah, um, but I'm not convinced. Let's say Cardassians are all nasty, so that's where I'm going to slightly backtrack. But it does have a bit on. He has got himself into a position of power, okay, because of his dad, but got himself into a position of power, and yeah, and he was committed to his work. Uh, doesn't make it good. No. Did he get good later? He did good things later, but yeah, and yeah, love the character, and uh, his answer to the boy who cried wolf was perfect. So, where Julian Bashir thought the meaning of the story was don't lie, Garrick said don't tell the same lie twice.
Yeah, exactly that. It was very, very intelligent in that light. What a pick. I mean, I feel terrible that I forgot him because again, he's one of those characters that could have hit my top five. When I watched DS9, I absolutely loved him. Every time he came on screen, I knew that was going to be a good episode of something in some regard, especially the episodes that focused a bit more on him. And I'm going to quote, well, I'm not going to quote, I'm going to paraphrase J.K. Rowling. I can't remember if this was paraphrasing from the novel or the movie or a bit of both. But there is a scene in one of the later movies slash books where Sirius Black, who's Harry Potter's godfather, for anyone who doesn't know Harry Potter, which there won't be many people, and he's explaining to Harry how the world isn't made up of good people and bad people, good wizards and Death Eaters. That doesn't happen. Everyone has both good and bad, both light and dark inside them, and it's the choices that you make that determine the outcome, right? You making bad choices does not necessarily mean you are pure evil, you know? And that kind of, I guess, leads in a little bit when you look at Star Wars and the whole light side, dark side, redemption, as well as fall side of things. When you boil it all down, it all comes down to the choices individual people make.
Yeah,
Are they good choices
and
or are they bad choices? And
yeah,
those choices should be in balance.
oh no, definitely, and in Star Wars: The Old Republic, there is a dark and light thing you can be, and it goes up onto a scale of five either side. I think Garrick probably went up to five dark side, and then he's coming back down to almost grey. And he's probably maybe one dark side
Yeah, agreed.
slash the yeah
I like that
zero for
analogy, yeah.
the balance for both.
That is a
Um,
really good way of putting it. I like that.
yeah, no, love that character. So I suppose that leads to our number one pick.
It does. Drum roll. And actually, I've brought this character up over multiple episodes. And part of me feels quite bad because this character was in the last episode we did. One of my picks from that episode. But this character had to be my number one. And that's Luaxana Troy.
Cool. Love it.
She
Love it.
has to be. I mean, in certain respects, you could argue she's probably a main character. Based off of my rules, definitely a side character. But
No, I agree.
again, a side character very close to being a main character. I talked about her so much in the last episode, so I don't want to repeat too much of it, but she's so eccentric, she's so present, she's so passionate, she's so caring. Um, her relationship, and this I get to talk about her relationship with Picard in this episode. That's what I'll do. I'll focus on that this time because I couldn't
Yeah.
really do that in our previous episode because that was all about motherhood and being and how good a mother she was, which she was a good mother. But I absolutely loved and I thrived on the episodes I was watching in TNG when I saw her interactions with Jean-Luc Picard, especially as the seasons go on. Um, it's so funny. I got such a giggle out of all of them. And there's a particular episode where Deanna, Riker, and Luoxana are kidnapped by a daemon, Ferengi.
Top, was it?
I think it was, yeah. And he wants Luoxana for his own. And it turns into towards the end of the episode a sort of contest over the view screen between this daemon and Picard because Picard's obviously trying to save them and get them back across. And the way to get Luoxana across after all these seasons of him obviously being a bit frustrated with her was to pretend to be in love with her, which was so funny. He starts quoting Shakespeare, I'm sure, at one point as well, which is a nod as well to Patrick Stewart's what do you call it, background.
Shakespearean
He's part
background,
of the
yeah.
Shakespearean the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Yeah.
If you have not read his biography yet, making it so, please do. I'm partway through it. It is phenomenal. I've been laughing, I've been crying, all sorts through that. But anyway, so I had to plug that as soon as I thought of it. That aside, yeah, this interaction is brilliant. He starts quoting Shakespeare, quoting poetry. She is acting on it as well. Comes across, she beams in, lands in his lap, all, oh, look at me. And the daemon runs off. And then Picard sort of shuffles not anxious, awkwardly. He shuffles awkwardly. He's like, okay, that's us now. Game over. That's it. Time to get back to our normal selves. And the Luoxana's like, oh no, I want to hear more of your poetry.
Yeah.
Let's, and I think that episode ends with Picard going up to Wesley at the con and saying, okay, set a course for her Beta Z. Warp 9. Just get us back there as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah. It that's one of the ones where you see Picard in almost a meme every time. It's like him puts his hands up at standing in the things like it. That made me think of that. And actually, by the time this goes out, I will have a short up uh, with Roxana Try meeting her daughter, and Picard as well. And yeah,
I
I'll
look
have that.
forward.
That's due out tomorrow, recording time, but that will probably be about 3 weeks. Oh no, it's probably about
2 weeks.
week and a half time.
Yeah, not even
Yeah,
2 weeks.
well,
Well,
yeah,
I look forward to that. I really look forward to seeing that. I just I love her character. I love how she's played. Majel Barrett does it beautifully, and I love her interactions with so many of the characters. Mr. Wolf, Mr. Wolf. Every single time she sees Worf, and he's just sort of like, it's Worf. Every time, brilliant. Oh yeah, so many different bits I could pull out, but no, my particular favourite moments are between her and Jean Luc. Um,
yeah. No, there's some good interplay there, and the thing that, as I said last time on top five mothers, see the plug there.
I did indeed.
Is her interactions with Odo is actually the time where I was truly converted to her. Other than one sad episode in the Next Generation, I wasn't a big fan then. But by the time we got to DS9,
I I blocked that episode from memory. Yeah,
yeah,
I've just
and
remembered it
I
now.
don't I don't blame you for it. Good episode,
It is, but it's
very sad
very,
episode.
very, very, very
Yeah,
sad.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's I won't even talk about it. It's a
That's
very
fair enough.
powerful episode, and again, Majel Barrett does it beautifully. But wow, you just don't see it coming, do you?
No, you don't, and it was just like that brought almost a silly character to
I can't believe.
sensible, not sensible, but to make a more, I was just, as I said, human but more Betazoid.
Yeah, how did I know how I did? That episode is probably a very, very good example of the whole motherhood thing we were talking about in the motherhood episode. And I didn't bring it up, as I said, because I've blanked it from my memory because it was so sad. Which is a shame because, as I said, it was a really good episode to talk about on that. So I might need to throw some form of short out with us at some point where we're talking through that a little bit. Don't know. I'll have a think, but yeah, very powerful episode. So
Yeah.
I guess to summarize, number one had to be the Waxander Troy for me. Do not get me wrong. I have had a couple of thoughts as we've been talking through, and a couple of instances popped into my head of characters where I've gone, oh my god, they would have been in my top 5. Why didn't I? And that just goes to show you just how many incredible side characters we have to choose from across these different franchises. So I will stop there. Ben Kernow, give us your number one.
Okay. I did say Garrick was my favourite Star Trek character, but actually, the ultimate side character from Star Trek is Morn from DS9. He is in show the most talkative character ever, but you don't see him speak at all during the show. He's had one episode around him, and he wasn't in it, apart from right at the end. Um, he
Oh, the
is
one he's apparently died. I forgot about that.
yes, yeah. He he, as I said, that's the only time he got to be a main character. Um, was that episode, and he was barely in it. Um, he he is always there, sitting at the bar at Corks. He moves out occasionally. I think maybe twice. I think
Mm.
he probably moves from that seat. Um, he he's a character that's probably been there big longer than some of the main characters, and I'm thinking Jake Sisko in this one. I think he has more episodes than Jake Sisko in DS9. Yeah, again, he's always there. He's even in Voyager in one episode when Tom Paris and Harry Kim are at Corks in the bar.
Yep,
Um,
yep. Very first episode, Caretaker Part 1.
yeah, um, and I think he was even in Lower Decks when they were there.
Oh, he
He,
was. He
yeah,
was.
it, yeah. You can never not definitely not confuse him with being a main character, even in the episode where he is the main character. It's
He's the pure
it,
definition of a side character. I can't believe
yeah,
I didn't think of him either. What a great first choice. He's
yeah,
even, I'm sure he is. I'll need to log in later and check. I'm sure he's even sitting at Quark's Bar on DS9 on Star Trek Online. I'm sure he is. If you go there, I'm sure he's sitting there.
yeah. Do you know? I've just deleted that game because I haven't played it for ages, and I needed to save some memory on my computer. So I'm slightly peeved that I can't do that just straight after here. But
I'll need to do it for you and send you a JPEG.
yeah, definitely. But he is the pure definition, as I said, of a side character. It's there, but yeah,
I
yeah.
can't.
No, that's my number one pick. Do you have anything else to say?
I really
About it?
don't. But I have to agree with the Luoxana being my number one. Bearing in mind, like I can't move that. She is my number one, and I will stick by that. Right, she is my number one. But if you had to define the true definition of a side character into an example character, it's Morn, which
Agree.
tells you everything. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised you have him number one. Just
No,
just I I can't add anything else. You've covered it nicely, and he is the perfect side character.
no. I suppose we better get on honourable mentions, which sometimes we end up talking about more than we do some of our main picks.
Yes, yes. Would you like to go first, or shall I go first? I don't mind either way.
I'll tell you what, I'll go first this time because I just fancy it this time.
Brilliant.
The two ones that I nearly had in, and they were one was Bo Katana, the other was Jabba the Hutt. He wasn't a main baddie, but he was an influence and major character in
Yep, yep.
the films. Also, I had Damar, no Cardassian. He was the ultimate side character that practically became a main character, despite not being in the title sequence. Um, I had Lando Calrissian as well. Um,
So did I.
also,
I'm not reading his
uh,
name just now. I had Lando too.
uh, cool. Boba Fett, I did have on a very long list, but because he became a main character eventually in his own series, I didn't have him. Uh, I've, and the other one, I won't. There was a character called Miles O'Brien, which gave us influence for this, which is the one I'm thinking that you were going to have, and with sudden he became a main character. Uh, he's a weird
Yeah,
side character in
yeah.
TNG.
You're gonna be so disappointed in me, but you're right. It was him. I had O'Brien in as my number one, and I walked Erin through it earlier tonight, and she went, "Hang on a minute, you can't do that." And I went, "What do you mean? What can't I do?" She went, "O'Brien, he's the main character." I went, "No, no, he was transporter chief on the Enterprise D. He was never in the main credits. Look at my rules." She went, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah. What about Deep Space Nine?" Oh,
Had it.
so yeah, I had to remove him very last minute.
Fair enough. I'm just quickly checking my list. Actually, there's a guy called I don't know how to pronounce it, but Chirac. Guy is like the force is with me. Uh,
I am one with the
yeah,
Force. The Force is with
was one
me.
of us.
I am one with the
Yeah,
Force. The Force is with me.
yeah. But he only appeared in one film, so it was just like I took him out of that just because he appeared in one film. Um, I will have another one to mention, which I'll mention at the end if you don't mention it. So I'm going to
Cool.
go on to your, or you can
Yeah,
go into your list.
no problem, no problem. Okay, so Miles O'Brien, who was my number one originally before my wife brought me the realization that I'd broken one of my cardinal rules for the episode. Guinan, which is one of the ones that should have been on my top five list and wasn't. But oh my god, Guinan, I love her character so much. Whoopi Goldberg plays her phenomenally. I love her relationship with Picard again. I love the mystery surrounding her, how wise she is. Yeah, brilliant character, Guinan. Moriarty is another one who, again, I absolutely loved. Should have been in my top five list. There's a lot that should have been in the top five list, but guess what? We could only have five. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's probably
Moriarty. I can't remember the name of the actors. I can't remember the actor's name, but again, he played him so well. He was so believable. He was like the perfect antagonist. Um, and you get to see him like what 2 or 3 different times throughout the life of TNG, and then they've managed to bring him back again. The same actor playing the same character pretty much in Picard season 3, like that. Obviously, I was excited when I saw Rolaren. I was, but that when I saw the trailer for him appearing, and I jumped out of my seat, ran over to my wife. I was like, look, 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 look. And then she got super excited too. So yeah, Moriarty, phenomenal. Elizabeth Shelby, she was on my list at one point, and then I had to knock her down when I was reviewing it earlier on today. So obviously Commander Shelby, as we know her in TNG for the Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2. And we see her later as Admiral Elizabeth Shelby on board and commanding the Enterprise F in Picard Season 3. Which, again, I really liked her appearance there, just for the nod to how much of an impact she did have in TNG. The irony of what she's supporting in Picard Season 3 versus what she was fighting in the Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2. And what I actually love about her character is again, she brings that level of conflict, similar to what Ro does, but I guess over a smaller period of time. She brings that element of conflict back into the Enterprise at a point where the stakes are really, really high, and everything's at risk. So I loved her character for that too. My last Star Trek pick. Sorry, Ben, did you want to say something about Shelby? On you go, on you go.
No, not Shelby. No, I was just debating to add them to my list, but go on.
Okay. My last Star Trek pick was Garrick. Can't add anything more to what you've really put forward, mate, but absolutely love his character in DS9. I do have a list for Star Wars. I told you I had a lot of honorable mentions before, but before I got on Star Wars, what were you considering? I am very, very interested.
Okay, so I'll do my 3 Star Trek ones, and then I've got 2 Star Wars ones. So Martok, General Martok,
Good
from
one.
DS9. Kai Wynn, okay,
Mm-hmm.
she almost was a major villain, so I was debating whether to keep her or not. Cut, again, great character, but he was a main villain for me.
Yeah.
Antagonist, so I decided not to include him. But the other 2 was Mon Mothma. She was mainly I know she first saw her in the film, but her performance in Andor, I liked that. And there was also, I suppose, the ultimate side character is Yoda from Star Wars, I suppose. But for me, it was just like he wasn't as good as the rest, and I wasn't sure if he was kept as the main character in some of the cartoons and prequels.
I don't, you know what? I don't think he is, but for me, he was too iconic for me to be a side character. That's why I didn't pick Yoda. Mon Mothma, oh my word, her character in Andor was stellar. Absolutely loved her in that. To get to see a character that you only saw brief moments of in the movies fleshed out the way they fleshed her out was really, really nice. Yeah, again, can't believe I forgot her. Good pick. Very good pick.
Yeah.
Did you have
any more to... Yeah. Do you have any more to say from your Star Wars?
Yeah. So he didn't.
Shall I limit you to 5?
1, 2, 3. I can do 6.
Okay.
I can do 6.
Deal.
So I ended up not picking him because he was actually, I determined he was more of a main character, but Count Dooku. Christopher Lee. That's what I need to say. Christopher Lee. He was flipping Bond for Moopsy's sake, So yeah, Count Dooku. But I think he was a bit more of a main character, which is why I didn't actually put him on the list. Paige Tico.
Really?
Paige Tico. And don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had villain in my head, and I was going, oh no, she's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Paige Tico is the sister of one of your favorite characters.
No. What was it?
Is she not? Is she not a season? I'm sure she's related to her.
It was a couple, but it was a couple, I think. And yeah, it was top 5 couples, and yeah, it was her sister. Yes.
Yeah. So Paige dies at the start of The Last Jedi. And I think it happens in such a beautiful way. Um,
Yeah,
well, okay, I'm going to rephrase that.
I
I
know
think
what you mean though.
cinematically, what they did was cinematically beautiful.
Yeah,
She blows up her bomber in an attempt to successfully complete the mission, like killing herself in the process, clutching onto that crescent moon necklace that she's wearing, which her sister has a similar or same one, I think.
yes, I think it's
Um,
the other side. I presume where Rose has.
so the two
So
sort of
yeah,
connect. That makes sense.
I
Again,
presumed, but
breaks my rule of appearing in more than one episode.
yeah.
So that's why she wasn't on it. Who else did I have? Lando Calrissian. I know you've mentioned him already. Commander Cody. Higher up the list for me than Commander Cody is Captain Rex. Um, so you see more about Commander Cody, but especially more about Captain Rex in the Clone Wars. But not enough to consider him a main character in my opinion. But I absolutely love him. He's cool. He's badass. He's just great. He's good fun. He was almost my number 5, and then Shelby beat him to number 5, and then Wayoon beat Shelby to number 5. And the last one I'm going to bring up is a Jedi Padawan that you see in Revenge of the Sith during the sacking, not sacking of Coruscant, that's me just gone to flipping Star Wars Republic. I'll start again. He's a Jedi Padawan that you see at the Jedi Temple during Order 66. Senator Organa gets off his speeder, he's just landed to see what's going on at the temple, and the clones basically threaten Organa and tell him he needs to head off. And then this Jedi Padawan jumps up out of the blue and starts defending Organa and fighting the clones. And unfortunately, he eventually falls, and that's when Organa escapes, realizing what's actually happened. But oh my god, that wee Padawan fights with such devotion, such commitment. And the lad that was playing him did a brilliant job. And that Padawan's name was Zet Jukasa, which I did not
Oh,
know until today when I thought I'm going to Google him. Did they credit him? And I'm very happy they did. Zet Jukasa, so definitely an honourable mention. It was a very pivotal, very emotional scene for me. In the middle of a very emotional sequence in Revenge of the Sith that I've always remembered.
yeah, yeah. I unfortunately I had forgot about that scene, and it was just like, yeah, I know. And I'm glad you picked it. And it was like, I wish you actually had that as one of your top 5.
Me
It's just
too.
like,
Me too. I like even looking at this list now. Like I think all of my top 5 are deserving, but looking at the list, I'd move some of my honourable mentions in there, and move some out, and then I bet you any money if I looked at it again tomorrow, I'd do it again, and then the next day I'd do it again. I think this is one of those lists that'll be forever interchanging and intermoving for me.
yeah. And I agree. And I was swapping R2D2 and C3PO out and going between Ro and Bo
Hmm.
Katana and Jabba the Hutt. It was hard for me, that one.
Yeah, it was a
But
tough one.
yeah, if yeah, you anybody else in chat thinks that I've got a different opinion, or even if you've got the same opinion, please put that in, share that with us in the many ways. So, um, again, I was going to get you to try to guess the score, but what do you reckon the score is, rather than who won?
Oh, ooh, ooh. So if we've got top 5, that's 10. I'm gonna go 7 for Star Trek.
Good guess.
Oh
Yeah, 7 Star Trek,
yes.
3 to Star Wars.
And honestly,
Um,
I don't have anything written down. I know I can't prove it, but I've got nothing written down. I have not been counting. But Ben Cano does all the counting, all the tallying, all of the
you probably can't see it, but
administration around this. I just get to sit and talk during these recording sessions, which is very nice. So yeah, I'm chuffed. I guessed that right.
yeah. To be honest, I was expecting it to be closer. I was thinking it was going to be another draw, and it's also me going back to having a 3 to 2, which I
Mm.
know I done a lot to begin in, not deliberately, but I know a lot of the early episodes. I had to score 2 to 3 or 3 to 2. Uh, dream ones. Um, um, I'm sure I was going to be. Yes, I was going to say something. So next episode, I think we provisionally agreed it's going to be top 5 planets.
Yes, we have. It's a very exciting
So
one that I'm looking forward to. Sci-fi in
yeah,
general has so many different planets that are explored, and Star Wars and Star Trek are, well, both of them have planets in abundance. So that's going to be very good fun. I think it's going to be another scenario of a lot of picks that could have potentially made the top 5.
yeah, and I started making a list already, and I've just suddenly thought of another one, but I'll leave that to later. Um, yeah. Anyway, so we go on to the stuff that we don't usually forget, which is where can we find you, Olympus?
Yes, before we do that, do we want to do a
Oh,
roundup of our top 5? Because we almost forgot that
oh,
just there.
we did. We did usually do that, don't we? So I completely forgot that. So I'll tell you what, as I'm talking at the moment, my number 5's Ro Laren. My number 4 is C3PO. Number 3, R2D2. Number 2, Garrick. Number 1, Morn.
All phenomenal choices in my very humble opinion. My picks, number 5, Wayun. Number 4, Rolaren. Number 3, Ethalic Shran. Number 2, Bo-Katan Kryze. And number 1, Lawaxana Troy.
Yay. So,
And on that note, I guess, where to find me? Yes,
yes.
where am I hiding amongst the internet? So you
The
can
Highlands and Lowlands of. No, done.
chasing the haggis through Scottish Highlands, definitely. I love a haggis. Anyway, I am. You can find me on Twitter. I don't know what I just said. Chasing haggis. I
Oh,
ran out of
somebody's got
water
to
as
go.
well.
Go there and get them, yeah.
Well, someone has to, exactly. In
Yeah.
case any of you didn't know, because my accent isn't the strongest Scottish in the world, but I live in Scotland. I'm sure we've mentioned that before, but yeah, I live in Scotland. I love Scotland and I love haggis. So where can you find me if I'm not chasing haggis through the Highlands? You can find me on Twitter, Olympus0511. I feel like my accent has suddenly got a bit more Scottish now. I don't know why. But you can find me on Twitter, Olympus0511. You can find me on Twitch, Olympus0511 as well. I stream mostly sci-fi games. Recently, I've been focusing a lot on Star Wars: The Old Republic. I've played Star Trek Online on there before. And I occasionally branch out into other areas. Assassin's Creed is another favorite of mine, and I have not started streaming it, but very, very recently I've gotten into playing Halo, which I've not explored much of before. But with the Amazon series out that I've been watching and enjoying, I decided to go in and give that game series another shout, and so far really enjoying that. So might get some content on that up on stream soon. But I am also available on YouTube. Guess what? Olympus0511. Please, to Ben's point previously, and I love this, it's hilarious. If you type Olympus space 0511, or if you just type Olympus, you will just get video after video after video of Olympus cameras. So don't put the space between Olympus and 0511, and then you'll find me right away. But I am there. I've put in a couple of shorts so far. I've been a little bit delayed getting my first proper video out, so I hope to get another couple of shorts on in the very near future, and then start getting some full video content out. All of it at the moment very much revolving around Star Wars: The Old Republic, but I'm hoping to get that updated and expanded to other content soon. For example, I've got some ideas at the minute I'm playing around with Halo. That was a lot of talking, I am sorry. Ben, where can we find you?
So if you're listening to this on the podcast, you can find me at TrekWars and Fantasy on YouTube. I do have a Twitch, but I haven't put any content there for ages. So my main stuff is on YouTube as well as this video. For those who are not watching it, we do have a podcast, and I'll let Olympus plug that because I forgot which one it is. I'm very bad at me.
No, not
Um,
at all. The podcast is on Spotify, and
okay.
again, it's TrekWars Duels Across the Stars. If you search TrekWars or TrekWars Duels, or even put the full amount in, you will be able to find us in that list. And again, please do jump on Spotify, give us a look there, give us a like and a subscribe. It would mean the world. While I'm plugging that, also, please please like and subscribe to this channel on YouTube as well. It really would mean the world to us. All of your support, your views, your likes, and your subscribes, it means everything. So thank you.
Yeah, and I was going to go. Oh, you can also find me where this flag's from, if you know that.
Where is that
Yeah,
flag from? Where,
yeah,
where is Ben situated based off of that black flag with the white cross? Please give us your answer in the comments. There is
yeah,
no prize, just bragging rights.
yeah. I also do have a TikTok account, TrekWars and Fantasy, where I'm putting a few of my shorts that I've put on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube anyway, you're about to find those. But it's another place you can find me. I think Olympus is there as well, and Olympus 0511. And I'm going to ramble. Yeah, YouTube is the main place to find me. I'm on Twitter at TrekWars Fantasy because it's too many letters to have TrekWars and Fantasy. But
Yeah, never understood why Twitter had to have the character restrictions in there. That was a bit frustrating. And by the way,
yeah,
everyone, it is Twitter to us. We will never, ever, 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 ever call it X.
yeah. I think one comment in the description I did put X, but yeah,
Get it
I know.
changed.
But I don't even hesitate when I call it Twitter. To be honest, I'm so used to it called Twitter. Anyway, I think that is us for the evening before we start rambling on. Uh, so thank you very much for watching, and peace and long life, or live long and prosper.
May the force be with you. Thank you, everyone.